I'm going to call Denise Roach.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to direct my my attention to part two of part two of the Act. And I guess what I'd like to concentrate on is the fact that the transitional arrangements, which I agree with Mr. Twyford, are probably the only sensible bits in the bill. But the transitional arrangements are about protecting those workers who are aged 16 and 17 who are already on the training rate for a period of 6 months. And I'd like to note, and I'd like to have it noted, that this was the price that was paid to get rid of youth rates that a previous national government had brought into legislation in the 1990s. And it was Sue Bradford, a previous Green MP, who actually brought the bill to the House to get rid of youth rates in their entirety. And in order to get agreement across the House that it could apply as a training rate, this is what happened, that 16 and 17-year-olds were able to be employed if they were being trained for a period of 200 hours or 3 months at that lower rate of 80% of the minimum adult wage. We're not suggesting that this should continue throughout our employment industrial relations arena, and we certainly don't think that it should be applying to 18 and 19-year-olds. And I agree with the supplementary order paper from Darian Fenton that to implement this bill and allow the reduction in the hourly rate for 18 and 19-year-olds is a huge step backwards and back to the 1990s. I thought we'd moved on from there and that we were treating our younger people, or starting to treat them anyway, with a bit more respect as they enter the workforce. I do think, in answer to Mr. Sabin's questions about we seem to think that employers want cheap labour, well, yes, they do. If you look at the unemployment statistics, with 160,000 people unemployed at the moment, more being forced off benefits and being turned into job seekers, and you add to that mix 16, 17, 18 and 19-year-olds who will be forced off benefits as well and into the workforce at cheaper rates, then you are looking at a glut of low-paid workers available, and that will force wages down. It will not add anything to the economy. It won't, because when you keep wages low, you actually keep spending low, and the colleague across the House, Sue Moroney, has already mentioned this. You keep wages low, you keep spending low, therefore you keep jobs and wages low, and you keep jobs scarce. It adds no creative thinking towards creating jobs. This government seems to think that young people are worth nothing. We have heard from previous speakers that this is about doing them a favour and getting them into work. Well, they will get into work if we invest in them by giving them training, by giving them education, and also by creating jobs. The only kind of economic strategies that we hear from this government around creating jobs is the usual drill it, mine it and sell it. The usual sort of short-term thinking.
Order.
Back to part two of this bill. The transitional arrangements, I've already touched on the transitional arrangements, which is the only sensible part of the bill. I do respectfully say to the Minister that the equation of 80% is correct. Any person who is who has an injury at work gets 80% of what their weekly earnings are. If you're already earning 80%, then that means a young worker will be paid 80% of 80%.
Colleen Lees Galloway.
Thank you very much, Mr Chair. Mr Chair, Clause 7 in Part 2 of this bill actually reveals why this piece of legislation is